Hey everyone, welcome to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer. It is Friday. It is time for the 49ers final injury report as they get ready to take on the Arizona Cardinals at Levi Stadium on Sunday in week 4 of the regular season. The 49ers starting to deal with some injuries that they haven't had so much over the first few weeks, which is interesting coming off that short week. A lot of guys all of a sudden ending up on their injury list. A couple of guys listed as questionable. They have one doubtful. They don't have anybody listed as out quite yet, so that's positive. When you look over at the other side at the Arizona Cardinals, they actually have two of their starters out on the defensive side of the ball. One that's been out since week 1. The other one, though, one of their better defensive linemen. We're going to get into all of that, the 49ers final injury report, and Deebo Samuel being questionable right now. Want to shout out the Moon Man over in the comment section. Moon Man says, "What's up, Jack? What's up, Moon Man? Good to have you on board." He says he's going to be at the game on Sunday also. So let's get into it. Taking a look at the 49ers practice report really quick. The top of the list, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, two of the 49ers' top 3 wide receivers are both listed as, well, not both listed as questionable. One of them is listed as questionable. That would be Deebo Samuel. Juwan Jennings, he is listed as doubtful. So there, now you understand why I said highly questionable, because you have the doubtful. So it's very unlikely that we will see Juwan Jennings with that designation. Deebo Samuel listed as questionable. He spoke at his locker today. And one of the things that he mentioned was that the knee injury is actually giving him more problems than the rib injury. Remember, the rib injury suffered late in the game on that little RPO that he caught from Brock Purdy, but he had a really nice run after it, lands on the ball, injures his ribs. But he actually is dealing more with the knee injury. It's causing him more pain than the ribs. That knee injury occurring in the first quarter was a 3rd and 15 play, a little screen out to the left side that he broke for a big gain. Well, that's where the injury occurred for Deebo Samuel in this game on Thursday night against the Giants. That is the one that's given him the biggest problem. But for Deebo Samuel, on the positive side, he's not calling it a day yet. He's, like he said, the knee is more of a problem. He's going to be taking it day to day here. We still have the rest of today, all day tomorrow, to kind of see if that knee kind of heals up a little bit, even tomorrow morning. And then we'll see what the 49ers decide to do in terms of Deebo Samuel, whether he'll be active or not on Sunday against the Cardinals. You look at Deebo Samuel, you look at where the 49ers are. The 49ers have been able to be successful, without Deebo on the field. You go back to last season, he was not on the field for 3 weeks. He missed the games against the Seattle Seahawks and along with the Washington Commanders. And there was one other one that he missed. So he missed 3 weeks there late in the season last year to Deebo Samuel. And in those 3 contests, the 49ers they won every game with Brock Purdy. So when Deebo Samuel was down late in the season last year, the 49ers were still able to pull out the victory. 21 points they scored up in Seattle without Deebo, and then they had back-to-back games at home back-to-back games following that in which they scored 37. So just under 30 points per game last season without Deebo Samuel. It would be the first time that he doesn't go this year. And Deebo's been having a much better season here in 2023 than he did last year. You look at it, one of the biggest things I think for Deebo Samuel and the increase from one year to the next has been the fact that he's been getting the ball down the field a little bit more often. Those 3 games that he missed last season, Seattle, Washington, and the Raiders were the 3 games. Seattle, they scored 21. Washington and the Raiders both scoring 37. But you go back to Deebo again really quick with where he was last season, or this year, but this year. And he's averaging a depth of target of 7.1. which is a big increase compared to last year where he was at 4.3. And the reason that's important is when you watch Deebo Samuel play, he is he's a very good runner after he makes the catch, right? Well, you get him the ball at that second level where he's going up against defensive backs, those guys don't want to tackle him. Defensive backs don't want to get in the way of Deebo Samuel. He's too strong. He's too fast, all those types of things. And they don't want to go after him. And you watch Deebo, especially against the Rams and then last week against the Giants, and he's more of an attacker. He gets the ball. He doesn't want to go out of bounds. He attacks those defensive backs, stays in bounds, runs through them and makes them have to come and make a play on him. So that's what they miss if he's not able to go. But like I said, according to Deebo Samuel, The knee is more of a problem than the ribs. He's going to try to give it a go. We'll see how it works, if he's able to play or not. If he's not able to play, then that will make the Flyers have to make some decisions. Also, Juwan Jennings is listed as doubtful, so that would be 2 wide receivers possibly down for the 49ers here coming up on Sunday. You look at at where they are in terms of health or the rest of the roster, and Kyle Shanahan was asked this today. What are you going to do? Would you have to elevate a receiver or 2? And then who would be in line to be those guys that you would elevate? And according to Kyle Shanahan, it would be either Chris Conley or Willie Snead. Shanahan says that both of those guys are the same guys in slightly different ways to us, but we've got a lot of confidence in both of them. We'll figure that out based on which guys go down. And then you got to remember too, the other thing is you can only elevate 2 guys from the practice squad up to the active roster. So that also plays into the decision here with what the 49ers do. If both Deebo and Juwan Jennings can't play, do they bring up both Conley and Snead, or do they pick only one? I really think that it would be Willie Snead. He gives the 49. He's had the best training camp. He can help them out on special teams. Willie Snead's a really nice player for him. I think he'd probably be the first guy up, with Conley being the second alternative. So that's where they are right now in terms of injuries with Deebo Samuel. Again, Samuel listed as questionable for Sunday. Juwan Jennings listed as doubtful. There was another guy that joined the injury report today as well, and that is running back Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell injured his knee yesterday, according to Kyle Shanahan. That injury occurred in practice yesterday. He was running the ball and got tripped up, and when he tripped up and came down, he injured his knee, dinged up his knee. So right now he is listed as questionable as well. If Elijah Mitchell is not able to go on Sunday, that means we'll probably see Ty Davis Price for the first time here in 2023. The 3rd round draft pick last year hasn't been active yet for the team. So if Elijah Mitchell has to go down this week, then I think we'll see Ty Davis Price come up. The 49ers have a pretty deep running back room right now. So it would be Christian McCaffrey would be the first guy off the bench, followed by Jordan Mason if Mitchell doesn't go, and then Ty Davis Price would be your 3rd guy. Last year, the 49ers had a lot of success without Elijah Mitchell, with J.P. Mason being that backup runner behind Christian McCaffrey. He was really the closer for him for much of last season, late in the year. So, overall, the Mitchell injury, that's a bad deal for Elijah Mitchell. I don't think it really means that much in terms of the 49ers, the direction that they go here with who's able to play and so on. I think there still would be fine with J.P. Mason being that first back off of the bench. Real quick, got a question from Coach T. My guy Jack, missing Jennings is a sneaky big thing, not for the passing game, but the running game. He is an exceptional run blocker. They will miss that. They may throw more. Yes and no. I mean, yes, in that it is a sneaky big thing. Juwan Jennings is a really good receiver. There's on 3rd down in particular. That's why they call him 3rd and Juwan. Also, I agree with you. He's a really good run blocker as well. That's why last week we got this when they got into 11 personnel. You saw him usually lining up close to the line because he was basically, they were utilizing him as kind of a quasi second tight end because of his size for some running plays. So yes, they'll miss that. In terms of throwing more, it all depends on what happens if Jennings is out and Deebo's in. You might see a little bit more throwing. I don't know. I think you'll see probably a little bit more of 2 tight. The 49ers are still trying to work through that whole 2 tight end setup right now. I don't think they really are getting much from that group in terms of being able to get open. So we'll see. Braden Willis continues to make strides to push his way into the lineup. So we'll see there. But I agree with you here, though, Coach T. That's a really good point. And that I do agree with you that missing Jennings is a sneaky big thing. And I think it's on both sides. I do think I disagree with you on the passing game part of this, but I understand where you're going with it. But I just think that he is a big part of the passing game. A lot of big catches are made by Juwan Jennings to keep the sticks moving. And without him, it'll have to go to somebody else. And, Shane Calamarino comes in and he's saying, Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell has that dog in him, though. And, I agree. If Ronnie Bell's been active these last couple of weeks and he's made some really nice plays. You look at the touchdown from Christian McCaffrey down in Los Angeles. You see Ronnie Bell with a really nice block at the goal line. Last week, you see Ronnie Bell with some really nice blocks down around the goal line. Has the really nice touchdown reception. He was right in the right spot at the right time to catch the deflection. We'll see how that all works out with Ronnie Bell. He's a pretty good player. He's just young. He's on the come up. So we'll see what happens there. And then Shane says, this is why we don't trade Ty Davis Price. Mitchell is always hurt. I agree. There was some question earlier on this week about the possibility of a trade in that running back room in San Francisco. I think that was due to them adding a running back, Jeremy McNichols, to their practice squad. McNichols, though, has since been released. They're not going to release any of these guys off this practice squad. They're not going to trade any of these guys. These guys are going to be around because the 49ers know that their running back room has a tendency to get dinged up, especially with Elijah Mitchell always being hurt, it seems like. And, dinging up his knee in practice, that's a bad one for Elijah Mitchell. So feel bad for that one. Shane says, what's up, Jack? This will be a very interesting game. We are really testing the Purdy plus CMC equals 30 theory, a game without BA. Now maybe Deebo. Yeah, here's the thing, though. We've already seen the 49ers play with Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and no Deebo, right? 21 points on the short Thursday night week against Seattle. The next week, 37 against Washington, then 37 against Las Vegas. Would they get the 30 points against this team in the Arizona Cardinals? I don't know. I think the Cardinals defense is a little bit better, but hey, at the same time, the Cardinals gave up 31 points to the New York Giants, and we just saw what the New York Giants look like up close and personal on Thursday night. Sure, short week, road game, and all that kind of stuff, but the fact that they gave up 28 points in the second half, I think it was, or 24, whatever the number was, they gave up a bunch of points in the second half of that game to the New York Giants team that we saw the 49ers absolutely, they didn't dominate in terms of the scoreboard, but the 49ers controlled that game really throughout. So, I testing the theory, I think Brock Purdy will be fine. He's got enough guys to still throw to. Christian McCaffrey, still a good receiver, a good running back, still a good back out of the backfield. George Kittle, still not bad. Brandon Ayuk's not bad. You already talked about Ronnie Bell as an option. Chris Conley, Willie Snead. Willie Snead had a really, really solid training camp. So we'll see how that works out. Good to have Luke Walsh in the house. He says that he had a questionable chicken burrito the other day. Yeah, you got to be watching. You got to watch out for those questionable chicken burritos. You end up having a questionable chicken burrito, and you end up sitting on your keister most of the day on the throne. So hopefully that questionable chicken burrito didn't do you in, Luke. But thanks for jumping on. You're a member of the toolbox. That's awesome. Luke also says that hoping that Mason's blitz pickups and hot routes are spot on, not worried about his running. Yeah, no, that's for sure. You don't worry about his running. It's his ability to catch the ball. He struggled with that in training camp. He was really good during the offseason program. And then in training camp, he started to struggle a little bit with the catching. And that's really the biggest thing, the last hurdle for him. He was okay with the blitz pickups. He was definitely better than Ty Davis Price at that during camp and during the preseason. But yeah, he's going to have to pick it up, especially if they don't have Elijah Mitchell. That's where the Mitchell injury really does hurt. So the 49ers deeper at wide receiver than tight end, best to put best players on the field. Yeah, I agree. I do think that the 49ers are better at wide receiver than tight end. I really don't understand why Charlie Warner's on this team. He's a good blocker, I guess, but as a receiver, there's not a whole lot to like there about Charlie Warner as a receiver. You put him on the field, you pretty much know what you're going to get. As somebody pointed out to me last week after the Giants game, when Charlie Warner is on the field, the 49ers are a very run-heavy team. So that's you talk about towels and things like that coming from an offense. That's one of them, is that when Charlie Warner is on the field, it's highly likely that the 49ers are going to run the ball. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, Warner was wide open twice as a result of it. We'll see. Walkstar 39 says, when did Mitchell get ? When he's talking about hurt. Mitchell got hurt yesterday in practice. He was running the ball, got tripped up, injured his knee. So it actually occurred yesterday in practice. He was held out of practice today. So we'll see where that lands for Elijah Mitchell. On this one, Coach T, when it comes to Darrell Luter Jr., he does work out on the side. We don't really see him all that much. I don't think he's going to be available to the 49ers until week 6. I'll have to double check on that one for you and get that to you. Let me see real quick. I think it's going to be later because he's on the PUP list. I think the PUP list means that he's going to be out for the first 6 weeks. A little bit different than the injured reserve. But other than that, I'm not sure right now. Looking it up for you as I'm trying to talk. And sorry, let me check it out. I think it's going to be, though. I think it's going to be after week 6 for Luter. I'm not seeing an update right now with him where he is in terms of recovery. I do know that Danny Gray can come off of the injured reserve as of after week 4. So this is the last week for Danny Gray. They could elevate him back next week. They'd have to release somebody from the active roster to do so. So we'll see what they decide to do with Danny Gray, but they don't have to elevate him. It's just opens up his window this week coming up. So right now you look at the 49ers overall injury report, and like I said, you have Deebo Samuel questionable. Juwan Jennings is listed as questionable. You also have Elijah Mitchell as questionable. He didn't practice today at all. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, the linebacker who's been limited all week with an ankle injury, he is listed as questionable, as is Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw, a little bit different. He didn't practice at all Wednesday, came back Thursday. He was there Friday as well. He's listed as questionable. I would expect to see Dre Greenlaw go. I think we'll probably see Greenlaw and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles active on Sunday. I don't know. I think, Juwan Jennings listed as doubtful. I don't think he's going to go. Same thing with Elijah Mitchell. I think there's a really good likelihood that he doesn't play on Sunday. And then Deebo Samuel, that's the biggest question mark. And Deebo himself saying that right now it's the knee that's hurting more than the ribs, that he's going to, do everything he can to get back out there. And they'll take that right up to game time. We'll know for sure 90 minutes prior to the kickoff at 1:25. So just before 12 o'clock, we'll find out whether or not Deebo Samuel will be active. We might even hear that before. Usually the national guys get a little bit of a tip a little bit before that. So we'll see how that works there. Looking really quick before I get back to the questions, if you look over at the Cardinals roster, they're missing two of their starters. Josh Woods, a linebacker who started week 1. He's been out since then with an ankle injury. He hasn't practiced all week. He's out. Defensive end Jonathan Ledbetter, he is also out. The Ledbetter injury is the one that I look at. Is Josh Woods. They've been fine with him the last couple of weeks not playing. Ledbetter injured his finger in the last game. He did not participate in practice all this week. He's out. Ledbetter's a big one because Ledbetter actually leads the Cardinals in quarterback hurries this season. He only has 1 sack, but he's around the quarterback, really, a guy that really is able to generate pressure and help them with that. The Cardinals, one of the best pressure teams in the NFL, and they do it without blitzing. And so, not having Jonathan Ledbetter there, that's going to hurt them, I think, come Sunday, one of your better players there. Another big injury for the Cardinals is wide receiver Marquise Brown. He's listed as questionable. He injured his thumb in practice on Thursday. So he was limited Thursday, limited again today. He's listed as questionable. He'll likely play. Rookie right tackle Paris Johnson, also listed as limited in practice today, and he is questionable for the game on Sunday. I would expect to see Paris Johnson lined up at right tackle for the Cardinals. And then Keontae Ingram, one of the running backs dealing with a neck injury. He was a non-participant today. He's also listed as questionable. But on the positive side for the Cardinals, James Conner, Calvin Beachum, Zaven Collins, they're all full goes. In particular, when you look at this, Connor's a big one because of his ability to run the football. 106 yards 2 weeks ago, 98 last week. Connor is going to be one of the top matchups. Is going to be watching James Conner against Fred Warner coming up on Sunday. That's going to be a big one. Calvin Beachum, the starting left tackle, and then Zaven Collins, they're really good linebacker. They're all listed as full. Collins injured his eye. Got poked in the eye in the game against Dallas a couple of days ago. So, East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Hey, good to have you on board. They want you to hit that like button. So yes, please do hit the like button. And that way we can help amplify the signal, get this out to everybody, and make sure that all the 49er faithful are aware of the injury report for the big game coming up on Sunday. Walkstar wants to know if we're going to make a major splash before the deadline, given all these injuries. I don't think so. I don't think the 49ers are going to make a major splash. I think one of the things as you look at all these injuries, the 49ers are a very deep team. That's why if you're missing a guy like Deebo Samuel or he's a little dinged up, you can say, well, we can have him sit on the bench for this 1 week. Last week it was Brandon Ayuk, and a lot of you were right on it in terms of telling me that I was wrong that Ayuk should play. A lot of you folks were telling me that Brandon Ayuk should rest against the Giants, and so now because you did that, now it looks like he's going to be ready to play against Arizona on Sunday. And that kind of helps you out there. So if Deebo can't go, you've got a guy in Ray McLeod who we've already seen be able to step in and do a lot of those same things that Deebo Samuel can do. Remember the big touchdown run against Washington. I think it was 75 yards, somewhere like that. It was a big long run though, and then he's able to make some of those plays in the passing game. He's not quite the threat after he gets the ball in his hands on screens and stuff, but really who is. Deebo Samuel is one of the best with the ball in his hands when it comes to yards after the catch. That's where he really separates himself amongst other guys at his position in the NFL. David once says, great to see all these second-tier players getting their opportunity to get on the field and show out. Yeah, it is, right? That's why you have the depth. That's why you have the roster that the 49ers have. And you look at it, and I think it's a solid roster. I think it's one of the best in the league. And again, you look at their depth chart and these guys that could step out. If you don't have Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason gets the call up. If you don't have, if these linebackers, Dre Greenlaw is going to play, but let's say both Dre Greenlaw and Demisha Flanagan Fowles couldn't go this week. Then you got Fred Warner and Oren Burks, and maybe you're going to be going with one of the linebackers. Maybe Jalen Graham would finally get a chance to step into the lineup, and those types of things. So they have a really strong, deep roster that carries them through situations like this. So I think that's really when you look at how good this team is, they're able to get these second-tier players, their backups, onto the field and perform at a high level. They did last year. Look at the guy that's playing quarterback. He was number 3 on the depth chart at the start of last season. Rightfully slow because they had Trey Lance was the guy that they had decided they were going to move forward with. Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously the next best. And then, I don't think the 49ers quite knew what they had with Brock Purdy until they had to go to him, and Purdy went out and he's performed at a high level, took advantage of the situation, and hasn't looked back since. Shane says, that's so interesting, seeing as how depth was the biggest question of the preseason, exemplifies the point. Not all the backups play at once. They get plugged in. And that's, you're 100% right on this, Shane. That's one of the things, right? And when it comes to this being a question it's a question because of the preseason game, because you have the entire backup offensive line in the game at one time. It's not just one guy here or one guy there. It's the entire group. It's all of the guys at receiver. You don't have, all the guys at running back and so on and so forth. Defensive side of the ball, you've got all of the backups. And it just shows that the overreaction that everybody has to preseason, myself included, at times, you can look at that stuff and be somewhat concerned, but at the same time, you have to be able to put into perspective how good this roster is to start off with. And you look at where they are, like on the defensive side of the ball, and talking about the preseason, Javon Kinlaw was one of those guys that didn't even really play that much in the preseason, right? Javon Kinlaw wasn't a big part of the preseason roster, and he's one of the top 3 defensive tackles on this team, and that shows you even further down as far as their depth was, what they were putting out on the field in those preseason games. So, just it's an interesting point. Randy Milken wanted to point out that I was wrong because it was a 76-yard touchdown for Ray McLeod. Good point. Thank you for correcting me. And it goes right along with the show I did this morning. Everybody's wrong. I'm wrong every once in a while. I'm probably wrong more than I'm right. Huh? I don't know. You guys would have to tell me that. After the Cardinals schedule really begins to get tougher, I don't know. Again, they got the Cowboys coming up, and then from there, it just depends on what your thoughts are on these other teams. I think the 49ers, when you look at their depth and their ability to do what they do, I don't think that the schedule is particularly daunting. So they play the Cardinals, then they go to Dallas, or they have Dallas come here to Levi's. That's a winnable game for the 49ers. Then you travel out to Cleveland to face the Browns, and the Browns are a team that just went to in week 2 out to Pittsburgh and played against the Steelers team that the 49ers beat 30-7 in the season opener. The Browns have a good defense, but that's a game that the 49ers definitely are the better team. Then a Monday night against the Vikings. The Vikings 0-3 this season. They have some good stuff on offense. They have no defense. The 49ers, if they don't screw it up, I think win there. Then you go to the Bengals. The Bengals 1-2 had a tight game with the Rams on Monday night as one of the doubleheader games on Monday night. I think that's a game that, again, the 49ers should win that game. They're the better team. And then you get the bye week. 49ers at Jacksonville. The 49ers are better than Jacksonville. Buccaneers against the 49ers here at Levi's. The 49ers are better. Then you get the 49ers and the Seahawks. The Seahawks, no, that's 49ers are better than the Seahawks. That's a Thursday night game, though, on Thanksgiving. And then you get to December 3rd at Philadelphia, and that's the big game. I think both the teams are going to be, either 0 losses or maybe 1 loss at the time of that game. If the 49ers aren't undefeated against the Eagles, they're going to be upset somewhere along the way. But the 49ers, up until that game, the 49ers are clearly the better team against everybody on their schedule. And then after the Eagles, Seahawks again, Cardinals again, Ravens on Christmas night. 49ers are better than the Ravens. Commanders, the 49ers are better than the Commanders. And then the Rams at San Francisco at Levi's on the 27th. That time to be determined. Looking at this roster or looking at this schedule for the 49ers, it's hard to find a loss. You really have to search and scrape to find a team that should beat the 49ers. Are they going to win all 17 games? Probably not. But the 49ers roster is such that there really isn't a game other than maybe Dallas next week, Philadelphia the week after that, where you say this team is clearly better than the 49ers. It's just not the case when you start to look through it. Coach T says the 49ers O-line play, particularly the right side, is concerning, especially when they face better teams. Yes, I understand. Especially when you talk about a team like the Eagles. Cowboys, yeah. The Browns, yes. But again, we knew that going in. The 49ers' right side of the offensive line has not been terrific by any stretch of the imagination, but yet they're scoring 30 points a game. They were up 20-0 in Pittsburgh before TJ Watt made his first sack of the game. So it looked bad at the end. The final stats looked bad in terms of 3 sacks and a forced fumble, but it didn't impact the outcome of the game because they were already up 30-0. I do think that the Browns are legit. They have a good defense. They have an okay offense. But again, you got to remember who they're playing against. And the 49ers are different. The 49ers are on a different level. It is a game against it is a game that's against a pretty good defense on the road. But we'll see. Wayne says that that's against mid-competition. Dallas, yeah, I don't know. You look at it, Shane says it feels like they're really dialed in this year. Focus, I don't think they will give a game away this year, unlike last year. Well, there'll probably be a game that's like that. I mean, 84 was the closest the 49ers have come to being undefeated. They went 15-1 that season. They lost a game to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 20-17, a game that they probably should have won if it wasn't for a bad pass interference call against Eric Wright in the end zone, and then Ray Wersching missing a field goal that would have tied it to send it into overtime at the end. But giving a game away, there's a likelihood that they're going to give one away at some point. That's why I don't think they're going to be undefeated. But what my biggest thing is that they're going up against teams. Every team the 49ers face is going to be not as good as them, other than the Eagles. and maybe the Cowboys. And that's including the teams from the AFC that they face right now. The 49ers, it's hard to, just kind of really explain how good this team is. They've been dominant in every phase. 79, the Miami Dolphins right now, let's just talk about the Miami Dolphins. Everybody's excited about the Miami Dolphins and how explosive the Miami Dolphins offense is under Mike McDaniels. 70 points last week against a bad Denver team who just looks like a disaster out there with Sean Payton, who talked a lot of trash coming into the season. And you look at it, and right now, after 3 weeks, the Miami Dolphins offense has 29 explosive offensive plays. The 49ers are second best in the NFL in terms of explosive plays on offense with 24. That's only 5 less than the Dolphins, who everybody's going gaga over right now. Then you go to the other side of the ball, and that's, again, why this 49ers team is so good. Second most explosive plays on offense, and they've given up the least amount of explosive plays on defense. Second most, 24 explosive offensive plays, the least on defense with only 5 allowed. So that's really where the 49ers are taking advantage of teams. They're explosive on offense. They're explosive on defense because they're keeping teams, they're not allowing the opposing offenses to be explosive on them, and they're turning the ball over. And the 49ers have 1 turnover this season. And that was in week 1 when Brock Purdy got sacked and fumbled the ball in the second half of the game against the Steelers. And then the other part of it is you look at how good they've been in the first half of games, the 49ers. The 49ers have had 15 possessions in the first half. 2 of those possessions were where they got the ball back with under 30 seconds to go and knelt on the ball to head into halftime. So on the other 13 possessions that they've had, they have scored touchdowns 10 times. Not touchdowns, excuse me. Points 10 times. They've only punted 3 times this year through the first 3 games. One punt in the first half of every game for the 49ers so far this year. That's not too bad. That's pretty good stuff, if you ask me. They've been very good offensively in the first half of these games. They're averaging 17 points, I believe it is, a little over 17 points in the first half. I don't remember. I think they had 17 at half against the Giants. I know they had 17 at half against the Rams, and I think it was 20 at the half against Pittsburgh. So you're looking at a little more than about, 18 points probably, right around there. So they're doing a pretty darn good job in the first half of these games, are the 49ers. And getting back to it in terms of the injury report, though, for the 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals coming up on Sunday at Levi Stadium. Let me get to it really quick. The 49ers will be don't have anybody out. Juwan Jennings, wide receiver, dealing with a shin injury. He is listed as doubtful. Deebo Samuel, that's the big one. He's dealing with ribs and a knee, the knee being more of a problem than the ribs. He's listed as questionable. Dre Greenlaw, the linebacker, he's questionable with an ankle injury. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles listed as questionable. And Elijah Mitchell, the running back, is listed as questionable as well. He did not participate in practice today after injuring his knee in practice yesterday. And over on the other side of the ball for the Arizona Cardinals, defensive end Jonathan Ledbetter out with a finger injury. Linebacker Josh Woods out with an ankle injury. They're both starters. Woods hasn't started since week 1. Linebacker Chris Barnes is questionable. Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown, dealing with a thumb injury after an injury that he injured on Thursday. He's questionable. Keontae Ingram, the running back, dealing with a neck injury, questionable. And rookie right tackle Paris Johnson dealing with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice on Friday, and he's also listed as questionable. Ledbetter, the one big injury right now for Arizona, if he's not able to go, he leads them in terms of quarterback hurries to start the season. He has 7, the most on the team. James Conner, the big running back, full participant the last 2 days. He's going to be a go. Calvin Beachum, the left tackle, he's been a full go all week with the hand injury coming out of the Dallas game, but he's going to be good to go, as is linebacker Zaven Collins. So there you have it. Take it for what it's worth. The 49ers final injury report coming up against the Arizona Cardinals at Levi Stadium on Sunday. Shane telling me that the 49ers were up 20-17 against Pittsburgh, so 27 against Pittsburgh. So there you go. So they have scored 54 points in the first half of their first 3 weeks. So that's 18 points on average. Not too bad for the 49ers. And if they can continue doing that this week against Arizona, I think you're looking at a game that's over early in the third quarter. I think this defense is in for a little bit of a challenge with the running game of Arizona. It's going to be an interesting matchup when you watch this game, because you're going to see a lot of the same type of philosophy and attack when it comes to scheme that you see from the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, the players aren't the same, not quite as much talent on both sides of the ball, but it's going to be a really good glimpse into what we're going to see from the 49ers when they go up against the Eagles later in this year in terms of how they have to attack it, how they're getting attacked, and how they can handle those types of things. So keep an eye on it. Like I said, take it all for what it's worth. I want to say thanks to everybody for taking the time to tune in. If you can do me a favor, if you could please hit that like button. After you hit the like button, hit your subscribe button, and then make sure you turn on your notifications. You don't want to miss any of the updates right here on Inside the Farmers with Jack Hammer. Also, you could also become a member of the channel. I think you have to be doing that. I'm not sure if you can do that on the computer or if it has to be on your mobile device, but you can also become a member. We have a few of those in the house as well. We were talking about Luke earlier. That's why Luke has that little dollar sign next to his name, even though he had the questionable burrito, but that's partly because he's a Toolbox member. So he spent his money here instead of at the burrito stand. So there you go. 49ers, though, I think they're going to win this game. We'll talk more about this as we get along. Keep it locked into the channel. Tomorrow I'm going to be going into the defense a little bit, talking about some of what the 49ers defense is doing to their opponents. So keep an eye out for that. That's, again, why you want to have your notifications turned on, because I promise you're not going to want to miss that one. And then we got the pregame and the postgame on Sunday, live from Levi Stadium. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Have a great rest of your day. And as Randy says over here, he's a member of the Toolbox. He says he did it on his computer. So, hey, guys, join the channel, become a member. You can do it on your computer. Have a great rest of your Friday. Check it out. Make sure you get over to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com later today, and you can check out my pregame right up over there as well. Have a great night, everybody. We'll be talking with you soon. Thanks for joining. Take care.